On how should INEC respond to conflicting pronouncement by courts of coordinate jurisdiction on the PDP National Convention, I'm now joined by Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi. He's a lawyer and former INEC Director of Legal. He's also a former Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Edo State. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You wear several caps that fit into this conversation, so we're glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we have at the moment two different court orders. One in Abuja saying, don't go ahead.
Yes.
Another in Oyo says, go ahead.
Yes.
Let's start with your cap as someone who was an INEC before, as INEC legal.
Yes.
How should INEC approach recognition, and which of the orders should INEC recognize going into, should the convention hold or not for INEC?
Well, it's a choice that, substance choice, a choice that no person, legal person, no institution should have to make. Because in obeying one court order, you're going to disobey another one. So you can easily be cited for contempt for that which you do not obey. Unfortunately, and over the years, INEC has now seen that it has been put in that position. Recall, for example, in Zamfara State, we had a High Court order from the Zamfara State High Court not recognizing candidates, yes. And then you had one from the Abuja Federal High Court saying you must recognize them. And INEC was a bit in a fix, in a jam. And that case actually went to the Supreme Court, and then you recall that all the candidates of the APC then, the ACN then, now were removed from office even though they won the election. So it's a situation we should never, ever have to find ourselves in. Be that as it may, it has come to find itself in that situation quite a number of times. Yeah. And it has evolved a policy towards that. Usually, it will be the last, the most current order of the court, the one last made. That is the usual, especially under the Jega and under the Mahmoud. So
is that a guiding principle stated now by the electoral body?
It is a guiding principle by the electoral body. Whether the new chairman will follow that, obviously, the Commission has to study both orders, both the orders of the Monteshaw's order in Federal High Court Abuja and Justice Akintola's judgment or ruling. This is a ruling.
Okay, it's a ruling.
Yes. And a lot might still happen. It's an ex parte ruling, and a lot might still happen before the National Convention. If I recall correctly, they're going back on Monday to maybe the other party, the other side, will file necessary papers before that day, and they might hear it, and things might change.
Talking about a lot happening, we've heard from the faction that went to the Abuja High Court, yes, saying they are appealing. In fact, they said they have appealed, yes, according to the factional national chairman today. So if they have appealed, what then guides INEC in that situation? Because there was Abuja, Oyo, and then Abuja again.
Correct.
Going to appeal.
Point of correction. Well, I don't know about factional chairman, no factional chairman. There is one chairman of the PDP. And it was the PDP that was taken to court. So they were not the ones who went to court. They were taken to court, and the court, Monteshaw's judgment is that they lost the case. And so they had filed preliminary objection saying that, look, this is an internal matter which the court should not have delved into. So I guess they're appealing on some of those grounds. And but unless there is a stay of execution, if there is a stay of execution or application for stay, then the Commission will now consider that even though it hasn't been granted, should we stay action on this? But there's a positive order. I have not seen that order, so I don't want to comment specifically on it. But my understanding from the media is that there's a positive order saying INEC should ensure they go and monitor the convention. I believe they have invited. And don't forget that this convention is a product of, it's a pyramid, a product of other, the ward, the local governments, the state.
The congresses.
The congresses, exactly. And I'm aware that INEC monitor those congresses. In several states, they monitor those congresses. So it'll be very difficult for them to say, no, now we're not going to monitor the last one, especially when there's an order back in the commission up to say, you go and monitor the convention.
Interesting. And, you know, let me have you put on your cap now as a lawyer, okay, away from INEC.
Yes.
When you do have courts of coordinate jurisdiction giving conflicting judgments, yes, where does that, I mean, this has been a challenge, it's not new. We've had chief justices who said they would deal with the matter, but we keep having them repeat history. Yes. What does that mean? What are the implications for political parties, our democracy, and even the electoral body that finds itself in this unpleasant situation?
confusion, a lot of confusion, and uncertainty. I guess your councillor will say, well, it wasn't brought before me. I'm not aware of any other ruling or judgment from a court of coordinated jurisdiction. In any case, even if I'm aware of that, I'm not bound by it. Any decision by a court of coordinated jurisdiction is not binding on me. I'll have to decide based on the issues before me. And the issues before the Oyo might be different from the issues before the Abuja High Court.
It's interesting you bring up that point, but because we have heard argument of those who are back in the Oyo High Court. They argue that these are not conflicting judgments because the parties, the facts, and the equities are different.
Correct.
Do they make a point?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
the bottom line is the elective convention.
Yes, the conclusion.
Yes,
the conclusion. We're arguing about the conclusion now. But you see, I might arrive at that conclusion through different pathways. It is what is presented before a court that the court will decide on, the facts and the law presented before the court. There's the argument, though, whether all these issues should come, are they internal issues of political parties? There's a narrow window where the courts have said, look, ordinarily, a political party is a voluntary association. If you don't like what's happening, you get out of the party and go and form your own association. But because of this internal party democracy, the law has tried to intervene and say, look, there are certain times where if you're in breach of the constitution of the land, if you're in breach of the electoral act, or if you're in breach of your own constitution, then it takes it outside the realm of an internal party matter, especially when it comes to things like internal party democracy. Because the ideal of democracy, the political parties are drivers of democracy. And as such, if there's no internal party democracy, there's no democracy in political parties, they can't give democracy to a larger society. So that narrow window is there. But otherwise, the Supreme Court has been, and all the courts have been consistent that, look, some matters of this nature are internal party matters which you should resolve among yourselves. The judiciary should not be dragged into political questions.
Should the parties who are appealing now, I mean, you've said there's a guiding principle for INEC. Whether the new chairman follows it is a different case. Now, given what we have on ground, should the electoral body then follow the Oyo State High Court's judgment, saying go ahead with the convention, and then the appeal for Abuja is upheld, which says do not go ahead with the convention? Where does that leave INEC? Apart from contempt, I mean, is this even likely contempt? And how does INEC guard itself from such? Where does it leave INEC?
By the way, the appeal is that the convention should go on. It is the party that is saying that we want to appeal, we want the convention to go on. So that the appeal is predicated on that.
Yes, but it's saying the faction we hear is appealing for it not to go ahead, is what we understand.
They're appealing for it to go ahead.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're appealing for it to go ahead.
Okay.
Because Abuja says don't do it.
And
so
that's why says
do it. So that's why I said they also want to go to the Oyo line and say we should continue with the convention. That's what the appeal is.
But we heard from the factional national chairman, well, maybe not factional, but the national chairman put in by the faction of the Wike-led team and Anyanwu-led team has just cancelled the convention of the party. We heard him there.
Does he have the right to do that?
Well, that's why they're the parties who say, they're the parties who don't want this convention to go ahead.
Correct.
So they're appealing the courts to say that that convention must not go ahead. Yes.
In line with Omotosho's judgment. So they're not appealing against the judgment of Justice Omotosho.
So they're appealing against...
They may appeal or fight the judgment in Oyo.
Okay.
Because they want the convention suspended. I used two words there, two adjectives. He said suspend and cancel. You cannot suspend and cancel at the same time. But that's what he said. Now, but the authentic, the other PDP, the Damagun says, we want the convention to go ahead. So we're going to appeal because we think Justice Omotosho was wrong. The Federal High Court Abuja was wrong in its own decision. So we want the convention to go ahead, and maybe they're appealing against that judgment, and perhaps they will ask for a stay of execution or injunction pending appeal, saying you should not go ahead, you should stay all action regarding the judgment until we are ahead. But if the Court of Appeal decides, then obviously that is no longer a court of coordinated jurisdiction, it's a superior court. So INEC should go with the superior court's judgment.
But what if that, I'm sorry, not to get caught in PDP's confusion and to confuse the audience. But I mean, if this convention goes ahead and that comes before the appeal judgment, you know, stopping it, assuming for the purpose of argument and clarification. I mean, the Oyo State High Court says, go ahead, INEC monitor. Should that happen before the appeal judgment stopping, if there's an appeal judgment stopping the convention, comes out after the convention is held, where does that put INEC?
Well, INEC will do
Should that happen? That scenario.
INEC will have to do what it has to do. But there are consequences for a superior court giving an order one way or making a finding one way or the other.
Will it nullify what has happened?
It could. It possibly could. Don't forget, for example, Amechi against the PDP, where somebody else was returned. Mejia was returned as governor. And the Supreme Court said, no, Amechi was a candidate known to, even though the election has been conducted and concluded, and INEC declared Mejia. No, undo that and swear in Amechi as the governor. So that's a possibility. It has happened severally. Even in the Zamfara case, said no, the governor elected or the APCM people elected, both in terms of the governor and National Assembly and State House, they were not candidates. So please swear in all the other, INEC go back and swear in all the give certificates to all the PDP candidates, and that's how that played out in Zamfara. So there are options open to the court if the convention goes ahead and it turns out by a superior court that it ought not to have gone ahead. Then they can undo what they did pending that. It happened in a number of states. Remember that Andy Uba was declared governor. Of 17 days he was governor, but the Supreme Court said, no, Peter Obi's tenure had not expired, and as such, they ought not to have any election, undo what you have done, and Peter Obi go back to government's house and continue.
Hence the off-cycle elections we are beginning to witness.
It happened before then, actually. Yes, it happened because of Ngige, earlier on with the Ngige appeal court decision, saying Ngige was not the candidate, was not the winner of the election.
Interesting times. We'll keep our fingers crossed and watch the development. But thank you so much for providing your expert analysis on this subject matter. We do appreciate it. Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi,
thank you for having me.
The lawyer, former INEC Director of Legal, and former Attorney General, as well as Commissioner of Justice in Edo State.